Hello and hello. Thank you for joining me today, guys. Merz has spoken, so I shall listen. This is about a 20-minute speech, so lock in, okay? Because I'm reacting to the whole thing. I want to know what he says. I hope to hear what the. I hope to hear him come down hard. Against Trump. To be honest, I would enjoy that. I don't know if I expect it, but I would enjoy it. Let's see.
President Borger Brende, ladies and gentlemen, the calm and peace up here on the magic mountain in Davos is at stark contrast to a world whose old order is unraveling at breathtaking pace. Let me share with you how the new German government is looking at these
That's a powerful statement.
tectonic shifts and how we are addressing them. These shifts have the most profound ramifications for our freedom, for our security, and for our prosperity. In these weeks and months, we are witnessing a new era has already begun. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine has been the most drastic expression so far. But change runs much deeper. China, with strategic foresight,
So we're not specifically just talking about USA, okay?
has worked its way
But there's a pretty obvious implication there.
to the ranks of the great powers. The United States' global pole position is being challenged. And Washington reacts by radically reshaping its foreign and security policy. We have entered a time of great power politics. The international order of the past 3 decades, anchored in international law.
I didn't hear him mention that Trump has undermined the transatlantic alliance, obviously, which is a major factor in what he's talking about here. So I'm surprised he didn't say that explicitly. Maybe he's trying to keep a decorum with Trump, I understand.
Always been imperfect. Today, its very foundations have been shaken. This new world of great powers is being built on power, on strength, and when it comes to it, on force. It's not a cozy place.
It's a reversion back to a time we thought we were, frankly, we had moved on from and improved from. For, at least a few decades, it seemed that way, for the most part.
We do not have to accept this new reality as fate.
Hopefully it's just, like he's saying, hopefully it's just a blip, If the chart's going up like this, we're in a bit of a recession right now in terms of global peace. But I'm an optimist.
We are not at the mercy of this new world order. We do have a choice. We can shape the future.
True.
To succeed, we must face harsh realities and chart our course.
You have to all band together. That's what you have to do to succeed. You have to all band together. All the medium-sized countries band together. I mean, Germany is a bit larger than a medium-sized country. But you know what I mean. Smaller than USA, smaller than China. A bit smaller than Russia in terms of population. You know what I'm saying? But if y'all band together, then you're very, very, very big.
With clear-eyed realism. 2 days ago, Mark Carney said in this hall from this place, we must no longer rely only on the power of our values. We must also recognize the value of our power. I share that view.
Ironically, that also sounds like something Trump would say, but of course it's being said in response to, well, Putin and Trump's threats.
And when I look into this room, into this hall, I want to say,
But it's absolutely true, you know? You can't just lay back and roll over and just say, oh, you know, what can we do? No, you guys are very, very powerful. So, yeah, you do have to recognize that.
most of us share it. And that is a good starting point.
And maybe you wish you didn't have to use that, but you might have to flex it a little bit.
European friends, if I may say so, our power today rests on three pillars: our security, our competitiveness, and our unity. First, we must invest massively in our ability to defend ourselves, and we are doing this. Second, we must rapidly make our economies competitive, and we are doing this. Third, we must
Especially, you know, powerful coming from Germany, or relevant coming from Germany with Chinese electric cars on the horizon. Although, of course, China's providing massive subsidies for electric cars right now. So I think without their massive government subsidies to the automakers, they wouldn't be as competitive as it might appear. But obviously they still are. They still very much are.
stand
Hopefully you guys can just beat them with quality as well,
closer
which you already do.
together
In my
among Europeans and among like-minded partners. We are doing this. As we forge ahead, we must never forget one thing: a world where only power counts is a dangerous place.
yes.
First for small states, then for the middle powers, and ultimately for the great ones.
It's kind of interesting because it's actually what he's saying is reminiscent of you're going all the way back in American history to when the states, you know, there was no federal government. And, you know, you read some of the Federalist Papers from the founders talking about, yeah, we need to do this carefully, but if we don't band together, we won't be secure. You know, we're very weak separated. So we need to band together. And, you know, that's the birth of the Constitution.
I do not say this lightly. In the 20th century, my country, Germany, went down this road to its bitter end. It pulled the world into a black abyss. So let us bear in mind, our greatest strength remains the ability to build partnerships and alliances among equals, based on mutual trust and respect. I remind you, after 1945, the United States of America inspired us Germans to embrace this logic. On this foundation,
That's why this is such a desecration. What's happening right now, it's a huge desecration to America. It's very embarrassing for me as an American. It's totally appalling, you know? And I have said many times I love America, and I love it for its, its history, for its founding principles and ideals. And this a total bastardization. What's been happening lately, both domestically and internationally. Of course, America's international policy has had a lot, domestically as well, lots of turmoil. But you know what I'm trying to say. As of the last few decades, this is a total desecration to what we previously stood for.
NATO became the strongest alliance in history.
Yeah.
This is
Led by America. Trump acts like America, who signed us up for this NATO deal? You know, this is bullshit. It's like, and also, America has benefited drastically from NATO from the stability that NATO has, the relative stability that NATO has provided.
Why we hold true this idea. Now, in recent days, the United States administration has vehemently demanded greater influence in Greenland. Washington has argued
Iceland as well. That's also, I mean, I really don't dislike Merz. I think he's diplomatic. I don't know. I've never heard him say something I necessarily hate. But like that, for example, it's a little too diplomatic, you know? Trump hasn't just said he wants more influence over Greenland. He said he's going to take it whether you like it or not, is what he said. You know?
The influence in Greenland. Washington has argued that this is an imperative to counter security threats in the high north. We welcome that the United States is taking the threat posed by Russia in the Arctic seriously. This threat is itself an expression of great power rivalry. It is aimed both at Europe and the United States. We experience it daily.
Is it really like... I mean, I guess yesterday Trump ruled out force, thank God. Thank God. But up until that moment, and, you know, you can't undo the fact that he hadn't ruled it out for months. And so, you know, under those circumstances, like, what does it even mean to say, you know, well, we're thankful America's, you know, concerned about the threat from Russia, but America is the threat at that. You know, if America takes Greenland by force, then we just are Russia. It's not that much different, you know.
In hybrid attacks in the Baltic Sea and in Russia's winter war against the people of Ukraine. We share the conviction that as European NATO allies, we must do more to secure the high north as NATO. This is a common transatlantic interest. Germany is doing just that. We are doing it in the framework of...
Yeah, but controlling the new shipping lanes and the minerals is not a common, whatever he said, common interest. You know, that's why Trump wants to own it.
NATO, and we will do more. Our neighbors and partners in Europe...
Sorry, I'm being kind of negative. He's being very diplomatic. I appreciate that out of a leader. I wish we had that.
Including Denmark and the people of Greenland, can count on our solidarity. We will protect Denmark, Greenland, the North, from the threat posed by Russia.
Okay. I really thought that was going to be an epic moment there. We will protect Greenland from the threat of America. Now, by Russia. Okay.
We will uphold the principles on which the transatlantic partnership is founded, namely sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Although it kind of does sound like he's speaking, you know, it's like he's in a kind of a clever way. He's saying, we're going to protect Greenland, you know, and we will uphold our obligation by NATO to protect Greenland. Yeah, from Russia.
We support talks between Denmark, Greenland, the United States on the basis of these principles. I have discussed this with President Trump, Prime Minister Frederiksen, Secretary General Mark Rutte, and others in these days. The aim of these talks is to agree for closer cooperation amongst allies in the high north and beyond. It is good news that we are making steps into that right direction. I welcome President Trump's remarks from last night. This is the right way to go. This is the right way because any threat to acquire...
I mean, so much of what Trump said was such a... Oh my God, it was like sickeningly stupid. I didn't even watch... Did I watch it all? I don't think I watched even all of it, just most of it. Just multiple blatant lies about China not using, you know, wind farms and stuff like that. But, and calling it Iceland. But the part about not using force was very welcome.
European territory by force would be unacceptable. And, ladies and gentlemen, new tariffs would also undermine the foundations of transatlantic relations.
Indeed.
If they are...
Sure would. And it would undermine the deal that the EU already made with America.
...in place. Europe's answer...
Which is very bad. You know, once you start undermining deals, what does a contract mean at that point? You don't sign contracts with people who don't live to their obligations, right? Right? I must say, while I said that, you know, that's what Trump is also saying about NATO. You know, the other countries are not meeting their obligations, although that was more of an agreement. I guess that was not like an official on paper deal to meet the 2%. Like, that's why it's a target, a 2% target. Now it's 5%, I guess. But anyway.
Would be united, calm, measured, and firm. As we proceed, we are guided by a clear compass. Firstly, in the new age of great powers, Europe must stand together resolutely and sovereignly. And secondly, we should not give up on NATO. At the historic NATO summit in The Hague last June, we created the material prerequisites for this. Europe will invest hundreds of billions of euros in its security. It was a remarkable transatlantic success. Now we must repair the trust on which the alliance is built. Europe knows how precious it is. We feel deeply that it can be the United States' strongest competitive advantage in an age of great powers. Democracies do not have subordinates. They have allies, partners, and trusted friends. Let me paraphrase this in German in a few words. Wir haben die Schwelle hinein in eine...
We are entering in a new era of great powers. We are right in the middle of it. In this world, the winds are very harsh, and this wind will give us threats, and that's what you are feeling, and that's we all are feeling. But we have to be very clear. This world, well, we are not subordinate to it. We can form it with our force. We have to be valiant. We have to use our own strength, and that exactly we are doing exactly that. We are massively investing in our own security.
I have to say, I'm so impressed by live translation. It's how difficult with the different way the sentences are structured.
We are working on the competitiveness of our economies, and we are working together in Europe between European partners. And that will help us in these new times. And this will open up new doors and will give new opportunities for all of that. And as far as our sovereignty is concerned, we will uphold that firmly with our neighbors, and our neighbors can build upon our solidarity. And although it's frustrating over the past few months to see the development of this transatlantic partnership, but we have to uphold it. And I would like to claim the principle of hope. And we as Europeans, we know how important it is to have that trust in NATO. And in this era of great powers, the US will also have to count on that trust between us. And that is our main competitive advantage for them and us. Dictators might have subordinates, but we have to be partners and reliable friends. And that is a sentence that will form the basis of our work, and we will work hard on it, that will not be forgotten.
The government set two goals. First, Germany has to regain economic strength. Second, we want to make Europe a key player again in global politics, economically, and particularly in defense. We need to be able to defend ourselves, and we need to do so fast. These goals are complementary. Economic competitiveness and the ability to shape global politics are two sides of the same coin. Germany can only lead the way in Europe if we are economically strong. And Europe's geopolitical influence and our defense capability largely depend on the continent's economic momentum. Ladies and gentlemen, our policies now need to be exceptionally ambitious and courageous. We must make progress in 4 simultaneously areas. We must continue supporting Ukraine in its fight for a just peace. We must become capable of defending ourselves on our own in Europe. We want to reduce dependencies that currently make us vulnerable. And fourth, we want to ensure that our economy can tap into its full potential for innovation and growth. This will only work if we work together as one European Union. And be assured, Germany pledges to take a special responsibility here. That is why we decided right at the start of my tenure to increase Germany's defense spending up to 5% of GDP. That is a huge increase. Boosting our military capabilities means to assert our sovereignty. By systematically strengthening our defense, we are reducing our economic and technological dependencies. And there is no room for isolationism and protectionism in this agenda. Instead, we are talking about strategically coordinated ties worldwide. Europe's trade ambitions are crystal clear. We want to be the alliance offering open markets and trade opportunities. We want to strengthen the rules for fair trade and level playing field. Europe must be the antithesis to state-sponsored, unfair trade practices, raw material protectionism, tech prohibition, and arbitrary tariffs. Tariffs, again, have to be replaced by rules, and those rules need to be respected by trading partners. On this, the EU is making great progress. Mercosur has been signed. And by the way, I deeply regret that the European Parliament has put another obstacle in our way yesterday. But rest assured,
I don't know what he's referring to there.
Will not be stopped. The Mercosur deal is fair and balanced. There is no alternative to it if we want to have higher growth in Europe. And most likely, this agreement will provisionally be put in place. In a few days' time, the President of the European Commission will travel to India to establish the principles of a free trade agreement between the subcontinent and the European Union. I was in India a week ago, and I have no doubt whatsoever that the era of great powers presents an opportunity for all of us and for all countries that favor regulations above arbitrary rule and see greater benefit in free trade than in protectionism and isolationism. And Europe is joining forces with new partners, as you do see in our efforts to finalize trade agreements with Mexico and Indonesia. In order to make best use of these new partnerships, we need to put our house in order at home. We are aware of those problems. Both Germany and Europe have wasted incredible potential for growth in recent years by dragging feet on reforms and unnecessarily and excessively curtailing entrepreneurial freedoms and personal responsibility. We are going to change that now. Security and predictability take precedence over excessive regulation and misplaced perfection. We must reduce bureaucracy substantially in Europe. The single market was once created to form the most competitive economic area in the world. But
He kind of sounds like a previous era back when American politics was relatively more sane. He sounds like just like a standard Republican here in 90s America, which is interesting.
Instead, we have become the world champion of over-regulation. That has to end. I have therefore mobilized EU leaders to convene.
It is unfortunate, that while regulations, of course, have good intentions, it's undeniable that they impede productivity. And when your competitors like China and America don't have as strict of regulations, yes, they're doing more harm to the environment, but they're also gaining a huge competitive advantage. It's just a very unfair thing. It's kind of like wages as well, like China has a massive, and other countries have a massive wage advantage that it's hard to compete with. That's why you kind of have to choose a different sector. There's no point in trying to compete with making t-shirts with Vietnam, because their people aren't paid they don't have to pay nearly as much for the labor. Unless you can make the product way higher quality. Or, of course, if you have a massive technological advantage, like automation advantage.
Special summit on February 12th, at which we intend to set the course. Giorgia Meloni and myself, we have formulated a set of proposals we would like to see addressed. Amongst them are some new ideas. We propose an emergency brake for bureaucracy, discontinuity for legislative work, a modernized EU budget putting competitiveness center stage. We want to have a fast, dynamic Europe and a service-oriented administration. I will insist that rapid progress be made, including on the Capital Markets Union.
But then they're not going to be able to make any new Reeler Earsons. And I really like that show, if you remove all the bureaucracy. Sorry.
I will insist that rapid progress be made, including on the Capital Markets Union. We cannot allow our European champions to continue being dependent on capital markets outside Europe. Instead, they should be able to grow in Europe, they should be able to be financed in Europe, and they should be able to go public in Europe. At home, we are making Germany competitiveness again as a place for business and investment both, in industry and our many small and medium-sized enterprises. Let me tell you, the so-called Mittelstand in Germany has to be reckoned with. We are providing more targeted support to innovators, removing obstacles from their path and making it easier for them to access capital markets. We have reduced energy costs. The focus for our electricity supply is on a combination of renewable energies, storage, and modern gas power plants. In the coming year,
I do think it's interesting how the availability of capital, especially for tech industry here in America, it's unbelievable. It's like they're just swimming in a seas of cash over there in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. To where if you have an idea for an AI business, they'll just like throw millions of dollars at you, basically. That is difficult to replicate, huh?
You will see massive investments in state-of-the-art power plants, power lines, and heat supply. We will speed up efforts to expand and modernize infrastructure. 500 billion euro have been made available for this purpose. At the heart of our efforts lies digital transformation. Artificial intelligence requires industrial scale. Germany has one of the world's largest pools of industrial data. That is just one reason why.
That's an interesting point. But of course, AI, the environmental impact, of course, of a data center and training these massive models, it kind of goes just back to what I was saying before. You know, like, honestly, the people of Europe, your integrity, unfortunately, gets in the way of your prosperity, in that regard, at least. But it's like, because, of course, a data center. Now, it might turn out, and it very well may turn out, by the way, that these trillion-dollar data centers that we're building here in America that are kind of inflating the GDP numbers that Trump likes to pretend are, you know, and just, oh, wow, just incredible GDP. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's mostly these data centers that we're building, and we sure hope that all pans out. Like, AI is amazing, but is it really going to pan out to be that much of a productivity boon? I don't know. But point is, you know, pretending at least like it will, building an AI data center like on that scale in Europe, man, it would be protested, and for good reason too, you know, it's good reason. The amount of energy they use is crazy.
Why we are investing in high-performance AI, gigafactories, speeding up the expansion of data centers, and creating the digital infrastructure for a competitive AI economy in Germany. Our research and technology policy is guided by a new high-tech agenda. We are global leaders in so many areas of cutting-edge research. We want to ensure that innovation gets to market more consistently, building industries of the future. And whoever wants to invest in the future, let me be clear, you will find a very strong partner in Germany. We want to be a leading investment location for global capital. Our policy is to mobilize private sector investments in infrastructure, high-tech and industrial transformation with clear rules, strong institutions, and long-term reliability.
That's a massive competitive advantage, right? That's a massive one that you have over China and maybe soon to be the United States. You know, that's something that Trump is honestly probably too stupid to understand. He doesn't understand that. That like a rules-based economy with institutions that are not undermined, even going all the way down to the democracy, the free elections themselves. You can't undermine that stuff because it starts to, once you start undermining the institutions, investment becomes riskier. And that's the whole equation of for investors. It's risk. I don't know if that made any fucking sense. And also, I feel like I sound very preachy or something. I'm sorry. But I like what he's saying there. I thought it was interesting.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let the headlines of the day not confuse you. I urge you, look at the bigger picture. The world around us is changing at unprecedented pace. The direction it takes must worry us. A world of great powers.
It must worry us. Sorry, that was actually like a powerful statement, but yeah.
The direction it takes must worry us. A world of great powers is a new reality. Europe has gotten the message. Germany has as well gotten the message. We must and will live up to these challenges. My government will do its homework and pursue an ambitious reform agenda revolving around security, competitiveness, and European unity. Let us be inspired by what is maybe the most important lesson of enlightenment. Our fate.
Hopefully it doesn't make, it didn't sound like I was making fun of his German accent, by the way. I wasn't. I just thought it was funny because he's been doing a very good job at, not using the German W. He says will, he says all the words with the w. But then the worry, it just slipped out. Furious.
By what is maybe the most important lesson of enlightenment. Our fate is in our hands. It is in our responsibility and our freedom to shape it. This historic task lies ahead of us. Germany wants to play a key role in mastering it. Many thanks for your attention.
I liked it. I liked it. That wasn't even remotely as embarrassing as my president's speech. So I think it was pretty good. I think that was thought-provoking, professional, diplomatic, maybe too diplomatic. I liked it. I mean, I would love to hear some more like hard-hitting, like, if he had just said, "Fuck you, Donald Trump." That would be cool. But, I understand. And he's a diplomat, and I it was good. It was good. Thought-provoking. I'd like to know what the people are thinking at the top of Germany. So now I have a better idea of that. Thank you for watching. If anyone watched this far, I know he's going to take some questions here, but my video is already too long. I'm just going to watch that without commentating. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.